presentation that we have made so far? Anyone in the room that has a question from your reflection? So maybe you are stuck in doing something and you may want us to address that right now. Please just unmute or raise up your hand so that we can answer your questions. Okay. So in case you have any questions that you may want us to answer, you can just put them on the chat and then we will answer them in the course of our presentation. So yesterday, we handled a data set on, it was about anxiety, and I hope everyone accessed that data set. And we did quite some work with it, including descriptive statistics. We did bivariate statistics, and we also did an example of multivariate statistics using Stata. So just to recap on what we did yesterday, in terms of when you have your data set ready, or when you have your data set, you want to go through some processes. One is cleaning your data. So ensuring that before you do anything on your data set is cleaned. Okay, I see a question on the chat. You'll be responded to. So you ensure your data set is clean. So once you receive your data set from whichever source, whether you're using secondary data or you're using primary data. So by primary data, I mean data that has just been collected from the field. And by secondary data, I mean data that has already been collected. So that is the definition of primary and secondary data. So whether you're using either of such data sets, you want to make sure that your data set is cleaned. So what do we mean by cleaned? It means that your data set is devoid of missing points. Your data set is well labeled and correctly labeled. And so that whatever you do with your data set, you are comfortable or you are confident that your results are reliable and can be used to speak to the population or information about the population. So before you do anything on your data set, ensure your data set is cleaned. And then you want to just do an exploration of your data set. Exploration, we mentioned about doing some descriptives of the data set. So that I'm just recapping what we did yesterday. So descriptives, when you're doing descriptives, you want to do frequencies and just know how many people are in this in your sample, what is their mean age, what is their mean income. So just doing some tabulations to get an exploration of your data set. So you want to do that description. And then you can go ahead and just check on the correlation or association between two variables. So when you check on the association on the dependability of two variables, you are looking at what we call bivariate analysis. So if you hear about bivariate analysis, that means you are checking for association or correlation or dependability of two variables. And then the last thing we usually do is multivariate analysis. So multivariate analysis is analysis that involves an outcome variable and more than one predictor variable. So if you're doing analysis with more than one predictor variable and you fit a model, any model, then that means that you're doing a multivariate analysis. So that is what we covered yesterday. And I don't know if there's any question up to that point.
We don't have a question yet. About the recordings, we will put those recordings on YouTube and our website early next week.
Okay, thanks, Molise. So today I want us to everyone to be I want us to be very practical with what we are going to do. So every step that we're going to do today, everyone is going to do it, and we're going to see results that we have. I have a new data set today to walk us through what I wanted to show us. And I don't know whether everyone can access the folder with the data set. The data set that I've just uploaded there is called Mental Health MHDP Practical Day 3. I don't know whether we can all access that.
For those who attended yesterday and a day before, we have sent this data sets. If there is any new person here, you can put your email address here. I can forward to you.
So is everyone comfortable with the data set that I'm about to present? It's
Hello,
just
hello.
written, yes, Lamek?
The dataset was not opening for the raw version of Stata. I am using Stata 13 and it was not opening yesterday.
Which data set? The one we used yesterday.
Yes.
It should not have a problem opening because even the number of variables are not so many. So the data set we are using today is called MHDP Practical Day 3. Just written Day 3, MHDP Practical Day 3. You can just see it on the folder that was shared. So Lamek, you can just share your screen. We see if you can open yesterday's dataset. You can ask people check on the dataset we want to use today. We can help you open that dataset. Or we can just use today's lesson to see if that can work. So can people see that dataset? I can just type the name of the dataset on the chart, MHDP Practical Day 3. MHDP. Someone has just received the do file. Okay. So there's that dataset that you want to use today. Has anyone been able to access that dataset? Please put in the chat your email address so we can
Is it the
share.
same with the
Yes, Vincent?
MHDP practical data? It has not been written through. Is
No,
that
no,
the
no.
same one?
No, it's not the same.
Okay, so we have not received. Okay, I have not received it because what has been sent today via email is a do file of what was done yesterday.
Okay, let me just add.
You can put your email address. I'm forwarding to those who put their address.
Just put your email address so that Melissa will share with us the data set. It's important we follow everything that we want to do, everyone. Someone has received. Vincent has received. Anybody else? I see so many email addresses have not received. Please just share your email address. We are working on that. Once you receive, you can confirm, please. Once you receive, please confirm so that we can move ahead to what we have prepared for the day. I see confidence has received. Anyone else? Confirm, please.
Daniel, can you please check your inbox? I left your message there.
Okay. Ismail, do you mean the Stata software? You're looking for a link to download the Stata software?
Yes.
So we mentioned on day 1 and 2 that Stata is not a free software. There's no free version for Stata. So it's commercialized. You need to purchase a license for it, or if you are working in an organization, they could install it for you. So there's no link I am able to share with you for downloading because this is a commercialized software. Can people confirm that we have received the dataset, please? We are not able to continue without the dataset. The name of the dataset is Practical Day 3, MHDP Practical Day 3. So there's an extension for Day 3 there. That is the dataset I want us to use for today's lesson. Marian, I've not received. So even as Molu said, shares the data set that we want to work on, I'll just revisit some basics that were shared with us from the first day so that we wait for what we want to see today. So I'll share my screen. We'll give around 5 minutes for sharing, and then people can confirm if they have received, and then we can move for today's lesson. But as that is happening, I want to just revisit what we have been able to do. What we have been able to do. I don't know whether you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as the data set is being shared with us, we mentioned from the onset that you can do several things using Stata software. And first, for those who do not have the software, I'm just repeating that this is not a free version of softwares. There are free versions like Python. R is another free version. I know SPSS is also commercialized. You have to get a license for it. So this kind of software is not free. So if you have it installed, there are several versions. There are several versions to this. For me, I'm using version 17. You can use any version. The difference in versions is maybe some packages are not supported by some versions. I may not know the particular packages, but that is what the difference is. So some packages have advanced, can accommodate advanced packages. Some software, I mean, can accommodate advanced packages compared to others. So when you have your Stata, you can launch it, and then we started talking about how do you load your data set into the window. That was the basic step we mentioned on day one. There are several formats of data set that you can have, and you may want to bring it to upload it to the Stata software. So mostly you may have an Excel dataset, or sometimes a SPSS dataset, or sometimes in another form of dataset. So you need to know how do you bring that data into your Stata window so that you can start using it. So that one we call importing. How do you import your dataset to Stata? So we spoke about that at length on day one and day two. And we are going to see, once people receive this data set, this is a starter data set, we're going to see how do we import that data set. And then once you import your data set, you need to see what are the steps you are taking before you go into analysis. That one we were speaking about. How do you clean your data set? How do you describe your variables that you have? What is the nature of your outcome variable? What is the nature of your the independent variables, which are also called predictors? So once you establish the nature of each of your variables, then you want to see how do you handle missing observations. And then once everything is ready, then you want to decide on what model do you want to fit, or what type of analysis do you want to do. Once you decide on what type of analysis you want to do, depending on the nature of your outcome variable, then you can go ahead and do your analysis. So that is just to check us through as I wait for people to get the data set so that we can start. That's just a recap. Samali, you have your hand up. I
Yes,
have
just
received.
confirming.
Yeah.
I was just confirming the data I've received didn't have date theory. Is it that one?
Pardon, Samali?
The data I've just received, I've received some data on mail, but it doesn't have date theory. Is it the one?
It doesn't have day 3.
Yeah, it doesn't have date theory. It just does have PhD data, practical data. It doesn't have date theory.
Now it should have day 3.
Then
It should have day 3.
the one I've received doesn't have date theory. It just has MHDP, practical data. I think I should share my mail.
Daniel, this is
Yes,
the
yes.
data set I received from Daniel Mania on Monday.
Yes.
It says MHDP practical session. That is the one that I'm forwarding to participants.
Okay. So in the
I
shared
think
do
the
file,
data is can you open your data set? I can also check. It's just the same. I think you add day 3.
day 3, yeah, day 3 and MHDP data. There are 2 data sets. I've named one MHDP practical data, and then there's MHDP practical data for today, which I label it as day 3.
Okay. Can you forward to me the new data sets? I only got MHDP practical session. Just
Sure.
give to me via mail. I can forward to them.
Okay. Thank you, Samali, for that. And just I've already shared Molise. I've shared the data set.
I'm downloading.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any general questions? The data set will be with us in maybe 2 minutes or 3. The data set is coming, so Melissa is sharing with us the data set. Meanwhile, do we have any general questions on what we have covered so far before we move to the practical session? So just ensure that the data set you are receiving has day 3 on it. The name has day 3 on it. So once you receive, you can just chat in the box that you have received the data set. So what I've written in the chat box should be the name of the data set we are using today. Someone who has not received, please put your email on the chat box, so we can share. I have received, all right, okay. I have received, okay. So can a few more people confirm so that we can go ahead? Not yet. Received, okay, not yet. Joel has not received. Received, Marion. Received, okay. So then, which was received. Not yet received for day 1. Carol, what's your email address? Mazuba, we are sharing. Ishmael, we are sharing. I've shared with some people, so a bit not yet. Okay, 2 more minutes for those who have not received that we start. So as you receive the data set, you can just explore it and just see what is in the data set. It's just a sample data set. Okay, so I think we are good to go now. So I'll just project what I have on my end so you can confirm it's the data set you have. I see some people have received now the data set. I've shared the data set with some of us. So, and Molise will continue to help us with those who have not received. Now, the data set that you have, what I want us to do is just recap very, very briefly on what I did yesterday and what we did on day 1. So on your call, once you open your Stata, the first thing you want to do is load that data set into Stata. So can someone tell us what we said yesterday? How do you load that data set into Stata? It's a DTA format, so it should be pretty straightforward of how to load it into Stata. So can someone guide us on that? We want to load that data set into Stata. What do you first do? Someone can just unmute and guide us, please. Can someone guide us on how to?
Can you repeat?
Yes. How you have your data set that is labeled MHDP Practical Day 3, and you want to load it into your Stata software. So what do you do?
Just double click on it, it will open, or just run Stata, go to the file menu, click open, then navigate to where you have stored your file.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for your response. So that is very right. You want to ensure that first the memory of if you are using Stata, that is, you want to ensure that your memory is cleared. But if you were not using Stata before, you want to double click on that data set, it will open. Or you want to come to File and Open. Yeah, it will open, the data set will open. Or you want to use this yellow box here to open that data set. So I've been using Stata for some time, so I'll just clear my memory It will clear everything that I have. So then I want to open it. I want to click on this box. When I click on it, it takes me to mental health data price, that practical day 3. I want to open that data set. So that is how you open. We have other formats of data like CSV, and before we finish, I can show us how to open one of the CSV datasets. But for now, this is how you open a DTF file in Stata. Thank you so much, Steven. So once you open this, I want to know, can someone tell me how many observations are in the dataset? And how do you know that? How many observations are in the dataset, and how do you know how many observations are in that dataset? You can just put on the chat, or you can just unmute and tell me. How many observations can you see on that dataset? Let me check on the chat. I haven't received. Irene, I've not received. Okay, how many observations can you see? Let's participate, please.
You can browse, and then can be able to show you observations that you have.
All right, thank you, Vincent. So if you use browse, browse is BR. For those who did not attend yesterday's lesson, BR, it will show you, it will open a editor window where you can see your observations. And below here, you can see that you have the number of variables you have. You can also see the observations in your data set. And you can check the mode in which you are at this time. And the mode here is browse. So down here, there's this information. All right, someone else to tell us how we can know the number of observations in this data set? 50 observations from Marion. So Marion, how do you know there are 50 observations? Marion, you can just unmute and speak. Okay, it's correct. We have 50 observations. So to know there's a chat here. I'm unable to unmute. Okay, so for you to know how many observations you have in your data set, the easiest command you can always use is count. So you can just type count on your command window. So what the count command will do is tell you how many observations do you have. So you can see when I type count, it tells me I have 50 observations. The other way you can know how many observations you have without opening the data editor window is using describe. So when you say describe, you can just type describe on the command window, or the short form of it is just des. So when you do this, what it happens, it gives you a description of all the variables in the dataset. And at the top, you will see this contains data from mental health data price, day 3. And it tells you how many observations you have and how many variables you have. So with that, you know, I have 50 observations and 71 variables. So why is it important to know the number of observations in your data set? Perhaps you're expecting more observations, or you're expecting less. So knowing the number of observations in your data set helps you make a decision of whether there are some information in the data set you need to take care of, or what is the difference, or what is the gap of what you expect? Perhaps you are expecting 100 observations, but there are only 50 observations in this data set. So that tells you you need 50 more, maybe from the people in the field, or 50 more observations are missing in this data set. So that's why when you just get your data, you want to count to know how many observations are in that data set. So I've said you can use the count command, or you can use days to know how many observations are in that data set. Still, you can just browse and a data editor window will open. Once it opens, down there, it tells you how many variables and how many observations are in your data set. Okay. So let me
one
just...
more area.
Yes, Stephen.
So I just wanted to say that there's one more area where you can be able to see the number of observations that you have. I don't know whether you tackled it on the landing page at the bottom right, where you have the properties windows. You can actually see how many observations and
Thank you so much.
variables you have. Yes.
Thank you. I did not mention that, Stephen. So thank you so much. On the properties, you can just come and see how many variables you have, how many observations, and the size of your data set, and even the file name. So these are important things that you need to check first before you go ahead and use your data set. Now, once you know how many observations are in this data set, usually, this is a sample data set. Usually you have a data set that has a unique identifying variable. Yesterday, I talked about household ID for household surveys. You could have a participant ID for a respondent survey. So you want to check if you have duplicates in your data. And it's unfortunate that my data does not have such an ID. But you want to check if you have duplicates in your data set. So how do you check up if you have duplicates? So let's say I want to make an assumption here. So let's say that age was our... No, I don't like to use age. Let's say sex was our unique identifying variable. Usually it is the household ID or participant ID. I know we understand that. So if perhaps this variable was our unique identifying variable for the data set, and you want to check if you have any duplicated information, so what you will do on your command window is just check a report. Just take a report of duplicates. So you will type duplicates report by that ID, by that variable, I mean. So if this was our household ID for a household survey, and we want to check for duplicates by that ID, you will put a command here, duplicates report by that, and then it will give you a report. So this is not accurate because sex is not a unique identifying variable. So I'm just showing you the command for checking if you have duplicates in your data, so that you first clear out all the duplicates before you proceed to analysis. So then after you have done that, what I wanted to show us today is we talked yesterday about tabulations. Tabulation, if you want a frequency table, you can just tabulate sex and then check if there are any missing. So tab sex gives you a frequency table. But yesterday I mentioned a command that that shows you the frequencies and the labels. That is FRE sex. So if you do FRE sex, you will see that in this data set, males are coded 0, females are coded 1, and these are the percentages. So 50% are males, 50% are females. You can do the same for educational level, FRE education level, and you can see that primary is coded 1, secondary is coded 2, tertiary is coded 3. And from this interpretation, there is 12% of the sample have attained primary education, 44% have attained secondary education, and 44% have attained tertiary education. So that is how you interpret this. So we talked about cross tabulation. If you want to see gender and education level, you can just cross tabulate. So cross tabulate is you just tab and then you put the first variable and then the second variable. So that will give you a cross tabulation. So this is a cross tabulation. So you can interpret and say, 12 males have completed secondary. So, and then 13 males have completed tertiary. So that is how you interpret this cross tabulation. So these are the things we did yesterday. Now, this data set, why I want to use it, it has 3 outcomes. One is anxiety, the other one is depression, the other one is quality of life. So those 3 outcomes really resonate with mental health, anxiety, depression, and quality of life. We have mentioned before that there are several standardized scales for measuring anxiety, scales for measuring depression, and scales for measuring quality of life. So you go online and just see the scales that are used for the different variables. So usually there is, we mentioned yesterday, there is a standard scoring guideline. So what constitutes, if you're talking about anxiety, what constitutes anxiety and what does not constitute anxiety? When can you say that someone has anxiety? When can you say someone does not have anxiety? And then when can you say that someone is depressed or not depressed? And when can you say that someone's quality of life is low or someone's quality of life is high? So that is what I want us to work on today. We are going to work together on the first one, which is, I want to show us the scale that, let me just see, I have, okay. Can you see, what can you see on my screen now? Just to confirm. Is it some document?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So what I want to show us here is the Beck's anxiety inventory. So Beck anxiety inventory, in short BAI, is used as a measure of anxiety. So it has 21 items. So the 21 items, a respondent answers each of those items on a scale of 0 to 3. And then, so what you do is, as I mentioned yesterday, is sum all the 21 items and then get a score for each participant. And then from the resulting score, you can now categorize this participant as either having anxiety or not having anxiety. So you can see here, where I'm highlighting here, there's a scoring guideline for this particular scale. So that once you have your total score for anxiety, then you want to classify those whose score is between 0 to 7 as having minimal anxiety, those whose score is between 8 to 15 as having mild anxiety, 16 to 25 as moderate anxiety, and 26 to 63 as severe anxiety. So I want us to work on this scale now and see how we can do this in Stata and get these scores. And then I'm going to give us a few minutes to do the Beck's depression inventory. The questions are in that data set, which I'm going to share the scoring guideline. So I'm going to work on the inventory, the Beck's anxiety inventory, using these scoring guidelines and see, and so we can see in this data set that we have, how many people are in what category. So I'll go back to my Stata window, which should be this one. Okay. And this is the do file. So as I mentioned yesterday, and as Daniel Maina mentioned on the first day of our interaction, you want to ensure that you are putting your commands in a do file, which you can open in several ways. And why that is important is you want duplication of maybe or replication of your code. So you want to see what did I do at what time? How did I clean my data set? Because if you just type your commands on the command window, once you close your Stata, everything gets lost. But once you put your commands in a do file, so a do file, you can open it from here. This is a do file. New data. If you click on that, a do file will open. The other way is just to type do edit. Do edit will open a do file. Do edit, that will open a do file. And the other way is just to press Control 9 on Windows. I'm using Windows. So if you do Control 9, it will open a do file. So that is a file that contains all the commands that you want to run on your data set. All right. So I want us to work on what I've shown us as the Bex Anxiety inventory. I'll just check this level of depression. So I'll paste that here. Okay, so as I've said, we have 21 items and we want a score, a total score for all of them. So this is the command that we'll use. I don't know, I hope you can see, or I need to maximize. I just hope you guys can see. I can increase the font. Okay, so this is the do file I've created, created. So I'll generate an anxiety score. So this is the command. I'll generate an anxiety score, which I say is a row total. So it's summing by rows. So a row contains observation for a participant, one participant. So I'll say row total of all this, BAI1 to BAI21. So in your data set, BAI1 to BAI21, those are the variables that are contained in the Bex anxiety inventory. And they are the ones that we are using to check for prevalence of anxiety in this population that we are interested in. So you will just do a row total of BAI1 to BAI21. If you forget about row total, you can just do BAI1 plus BAI2 plus BAI3 plus all of this up to BAI21. Usually I like to do the row total because it gives me, it doesn't stress me with the plus sign. So I will give us a minute to type the command so that you can just run it on your end before I run it. So this is the command, EGEN anxiety underline score. You can call it anything that you want, but you want your variable name to help you remember what you are doing. So that's why I just do anxiety score, but you can name it anything that you want. If you're generating a variable, you want to name it as that what suits your needs. So I will do agent anxiety score a row total of this. So I want us to run that command together. And if someone has gotten an error, you can just drop in the chat. I've run my command to generate the anxiety score. So I need a confirmation for maybe 3 people who have run that command and their command has been successful. So just 3 people can confirm that they have run that command and it is successful. Can at least 3 people confirm that it's successful? They have generated the score. Can someone confirm that you have generated the score, please? We need to move together so that this is not theoretical, it's practical. So that if you're getting an error, we address that error now. Do we have anyone with a challenge on that? I can't see anything on the chat. I'm kind of lost. Okay. Anyone else? Jolly, do you have the data set? It works. Okay. Thank you, Traore. Anyone else?
Yes, I do have the data set,
Yes.
but on where you got that, where to write that formula is where
Yes.
I've lost here.
Okay. Okay. I'll respond to that where I wrote the formula. Anyone else that has a challenge with that? Or if it works, please just type on the chat. I need confirmation.
Mine is indicating row total not found.
Total not found. Okay. That should be an old version of Stata. Which version are you using, Vincent?
15.
15 should work. Okay. Anyone else, please confirm so that we don't move fast and the people are behind. Sena?
I got the same response that the total row not found.
Row total.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? So if you have if you find any challenge with a command, you can always type in the command window. You just type help and then that row total. Then it gives you what if there's some information on it, it will come here. It looks like there's not so much information on row total, and Stata cannot give us any help. So ensure you're using egen command for row total. Just confirm that you're using egen command. Just type the command as I've typed it here. If it's not working, then what you will do is just add a plus sign here after each variable. So just put plus BAI1 plus BAI2 plus, and then remove this row total. So you just do a plus for each of these, after each of these. And just confirm that that works. So whatever we are generating is just a sum of all these 21 items. That is what we are generating at the moment. All right, so try that and check if that works. So just put a plus for each after each of that, and then remove the row total command.
So Daniel,
Yes, Vincent?
when I put egen, even without putting the plus signs, it now the variable is created.
Okay.
So because I was initially using just gen, not egen.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if you use egen, you are good to go. Anyone else having any reaction? So that should work for you guys. If it's not working, you can just use the plus command and then remove the row total. If anything is not
Daniel?
clear, yes, Mazuba, is it? Did I pronounce it?
Yes. I just wanted to find out what the difference is in the command gen and egen. How are the two different?
Okay, there's not much difference, but egen is just, if you check it up, it will show you that it is an extended generation. That is the E part. Usually, I use it when I want to do a row total of things, but it has the same function as generate. Only that you can type on the command window that help egen, and then we can see what it is saying. Yeah. And all this is everything that it's saying, but they have almost the same command. They have almost the same functionality.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions before we proceed? Okay. So if we don't have any questions, as For good purposes of keeping your do file, you want to label everything that you generate. So if your variable that you have generated is called anxiety score, you want to label that variable anxiety severity. That is what I labeled mine. So if, for example, you have the variable you have generated is anxiety, it's just anxiety. So you will want to say, I want to label var anxiety and anxiety severity. So in my case, my variable is called anxiety score, and I'm labeling it anxiety variety. And this is the command, lab var anxiety score. Lab stands for label, var stands for variable. And anxiety score is what I have generated. And this is the label that I want to see when I open my data set. So you can just label your variable that you've generated and give it a name so that when you come here, when you come to variables, what is this? When you come to variables, I need, when you come to variable here and you want to check on that variable that you have generated called anxiety. So there's a search box there you can use. I didn't mention that, but you can use a search box here to just check what variable is it. So this is anxiety score. So you can see I've not labeled it. It doesn't show me anything. But when I come here and label that variable, I've run my labeling command. So you can see now I have the variable name and the variable label. Anxiety score, this is anxiety severity. So that when you're using this data next time, you know this variable is what. So once you run the labels, we want to now create the categories. Now, how do you create the categories? We are using these guidelines that I've shown us here. These guidelines. We want to classify everyone that has a score of 0 to 7 as having minimal anxiety. Everyone that has a score of 8 to 15 as having mild anxiety, and the rest of all this. 16 to 25 as having moderate anxiety, 26 to 63 as having severe anxiety. So that is what we want to do. Now, I come to my Stata, which should be this one. I want to generate a category, anxiety category. So I just say anxiety cat. When you are generating a variable and it has a long name, you want to use underscore. Because if I just say generate anxiety and then this doesn't have underscore, then you see what I get. It doesn't look like, it will give you an error, definitely. So a variable name should just be 1. So I'll say generate anxiety category is missing. So it's going to create a variable called anxiety category for all my observations. And that variable will be missing for now. So you can call it anything. You want to just call it anxiety something or anxiety C. You can name your variable the way you want. So I'm going to create this variable called anxiety cat, which you will see on the window here. It has 50 missing values because in my dataset, I have 50 observations. Okay, so I'm going to replace the first category is 0. So we want now to fill up this category, what we have generated. So I'm going to say that this variable will be a 0 if the score is at most 7. So this variable will be a 0 if the score is at most 7. So this is the command. I'm going to replace anxiety cat is 0 if anxiety score is less or equals to 7. So that is the first category. So that will give you some information on the window, on this side, and you'll see how many changes have been made. And then for category 1 is those between 8 and 15. So you want for 8, it's greater or equals to 8, and up to 15 is less or equals to 15. So that is what you do. And this for 16 and 25, you run this command. For 26 to 63, you run this command. So this is what you do. You replace anxiety category is 0. Anxiety score is 8 to 15. is 2 if anxiety score is that, and 3 if that. Now, once you have created the variable category and replaced all these variables, all the values, then you want to label as a good practice, you want to label your values. So 0 will be normal. I call 0 normal for those with a score below 7. 1 is mild, 2 is moderate, and 3 is severe. And as I mentioned yesterday, you want to say modify. Let me just put that in one line. So you want to say modify so that you don't get an error the next time you're running this do file. So category 1 is category 0 is normal, and this the rest of this, and then you want to say modify. So I want to run that command, and then I want to label values for anxiety, category anxiety. So these ones are some of the things Daniel Miner took us through on day 1. So to check that I have generated anxiety category for all the respondents in my dataset, I just want to tabulate that category. Now, from here, you can see that if I tabulate my anxiety category, there are 37 who are normal. There are 6 who have mild anxiety, 5 have moderate anxiety, and 2 have severe anxiety. Now, sometimes you want to know what did I code as normal? What is the value? So I recommended that we use FRE command, and that will give you whatever you need as the value label. So that will give you that. If you use FRE command, you will see on the output that 0 belongs to those who I say they're normal, 1 for mild, 2 for moderate, and 3 for severe. And you can see these percentages here. Now, for perhaps we would want to classify anxiety into 2 categories. We want to dichotomize anxiety, and this is something I want us to do in the next 3 minutes. I want you to create 2 categories of anxiety. So category 1 will be those who are normal and mild. And then the second category will be those who have moderate and those who have severe anxiety. That is the second category. And then what you will do, after you have created the 2 categories, you will label the first category as no anxiety, and then the second category as anxiety. So, and then I'll give a chance to one of us to show us the results. Is that clear? I'm giving us an exercise at the middle of this session. So we have created this anxiety category. There are 4 categories. I want us to, using these 4 categories, from these 4 categories, I want us to generate 2 categories. So the 2 categories will generate are as follows. The first category will be those who are normal and those who have mild anxiety. And then the second category will be those who have moderate and severe anxiety. And then I want you to label the first category as no and the second category as yes. So the first category, no anxiety, the second category as anxiety. And then one of us will show us what they have received as their results. Is there any question up to there? So I'm giving us 2-3 minutes for that exercise. Any questions, or is the question not clear? Anyone with a question? So what I've said is I want us to dichotomize or just get to a binary variable. I want us to dichotomize the anxiety categories. This is what I've said. And so the first category will be normal and mild. And then the second category will be those who are having moderate and those who are severe. So then labels, I want you to label first category. First category, just label it no. And then the second category, you label it yes. And then once you have done that, I want us to tabulate whatever variable you have created, whatever binary variable you have created, and then we can check on now what we can report as the prevalence of anxiety in our population. If someone is done, you can just drop in the chat. What did you get as the percentage? I just want the percentage for yes. There's no and yes. So you can just drop the percentage for no and the percentage for yes, or just the percentage for yes. If you're done with the task. So I'll be following So do we have anyone who has been successful in generating the categories? And you want to show us your results? Anyone? Anyone who has been successful? Muidin, do you want to speak? No, Muidin, you don't want to speak, or you didn't get to calculate the work? So Lelisa, you can't generate you are not able to generate the raw total. So you can just add each of those variables, like practically just like the manual thing, like okay, we did. You can just say BAI1 plus BAI2, just that way. I can just reshare my screen for Lelisa. You can just see it. Let me just reshare what I have. I hope you guys can see my screen. So what I was saying, once you are here, anxiety score, you can just say generate a score. Let me call it a score. You can call it anything. So it will be all those variables I've mentioned, BAI1 to 21. So you just drop them and say equals to BAI1 plus BAI2 plus BAI21. So this will give you the score. If the raw total is not working for you, you can use this one. This one will definitely give you a score. Okay, any other comments? Lalisa, please let us know if you are able to generate that score, because it's important. We are going to use it even in the next few minutes. So can someone tell us if you have been able to generate the two categories? Yes, there's a space. Let me just repeat. So I'm starting again. If I'm generating a score equals, so I want to add this. So I just click on this. It gives me here. Then you say space, plus sign, space, and then this one, space, plus sign, space. That way, plus, then you add all these other variables, plus 21.
Yeah, it worked now.
Working? That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So any other questions? Is there a way to drop them all? You want to drop all the variables, Adela, or I can't quite get your question? No, you can't drop. Okay, if I get your question, you can't drop all of them at this. Is it at the same time? If there is a way out, I don't usually use that. I just usually click one by one. Do we have any other questions? Okay.
I think, Daniel.
Yes.
Adela's question, maybe he might generate a new variable called BI score.
Yes.
And he wants to drop that variable. So he can type drop BI score or drop the one he generated.
Okay, great.
Just
Thanks so
simply
much.
type, yeah.
Thank you so much. So if you want to drop a variable you have generated, you just type drop on your command window. And then if I want to drop anxiety category, I just drop anxiety category here. Drop anxiety cat, and then the variable will be dropped from my data set. Okay, I want someone to tell us if they have been successful in generating the two categories that I was mentioning. That's what I'm interested in at the moment. So what I said is once we have generated the score and have the score with us, we label that variable that we've generated. And then from the scores, we categorize our participants into different categories. The first category is those with at most 7, a score of at most 7. And the rest of the categories I have shown us what they are, 8 to 15, 6 to 25, 26 to 63. So once you categorize them, you want to label each of the categories. And in my case, I have labeled them as follows. And this is a standard tool. So once I've done that, I want to dichotomize this variable. That is, just create two categories. In other words, I want to create a binary variable out of my old variable called anxiety category. And what I've said is, to dichotomize, I want my first category to be everyone who is normal or has mild anxiety. And my second category to be moderate or severe. And I want to label the first category as no and the second category as yes. And so what my question is, I want you to tell me what percentage is yes, so that we can do that together.
I have Daniel.
Yes, who is speaking?
So I've done the first bit. This is Vincent.
Yes, Vincent.
Yeah. So I was trying to, so the same. So I wanted to now generate a new variable. And now I tried now to replace, so that now my initial category, the category 0 and 1, to be so that you see what I, because it brought an error.
Okay, Vincent, you can share. Do you want to share?
Share my screen.
Please, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I was trying to share. Yeah, now I think I can share.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you can see what I was doing. So this is my do file. So I wanted now. So let me just put this. Sorry. So I was trying to now use just whatever we have done here. So that now I create a new category. Now this is category 2, and now I want to replace what was So I replace anxiety category 2 as 1, put it as 1. If anxiety category, now this is the initial category, this one is 0 and anxiety cat is 1. So these two to be 1. Now, but when I run that, it gives me like an invalid, it says invalid syntax. I don't know if that is, I'm doing something wrong.
Let's go back to your do file, and thanks for sharing. We are going to work with this. So the first thing on your row 7, on your row 7, you want to put a star before Jen. You can just put a star there so that it tells you that is just a star. Just put a star.
Okay.
Yeah, so that tells you that is just supplement information. You are just learning how to generate categories.
Okay.
And on your row 8 is okay, generate anxiety categories, and all this is okay up to 12.
Mm-hmm.
So now you want to label the anxiety cat first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So here lab define on your code line 14, you want to say lab define anxiety underscore cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, underline cat. So that is the variable you want to label first.
Mm-hmm.
So replace anxiety with there. So 0 is normal, 1 is mild. We say 1 is mild. So just type there mild.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 was what? Moderate. And then 3 is severe.
Severe. Yes.
Severe, yeah. And then you want to put a comma and then say modify.
Okay, comma, and then modify.
Comma modify.
Okay.
Okay, can you run that? Click on that. Yeah, that's okay. So you have defined that above. So what we want to do is generate anxiety category 2, which now is the dichotomized, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can just say for this case, because we have 2 categories, okay, let's just say it's missing the way we have generated above. And then you want to replace anxiety category 2 is 1. Is 1 if anxiety cat is 0, or because you want to take both, you want to say or, and or is a straight line. Is it, how do you call that? Yeah, that way. And then you just copy that command. Command 17, just copy it and paste it on line 18. And then say I replace anxiety cat 2 is 2, right?
So cat
So
2
now
is
this
2.
is 2. If now you replace that with what? 3
2
or
and 3.
2 and 3.
Or 2 or
Yes.
3. Okay.
Yes.
So I can
And then below there you want to tabulate. Just write tab anxiety cat 2.
Anxiety cat 2.
Okay, can you run it now?
Yes. So it's telling me variable anxiety cat 2 already defined.
Yes. So come to your command window and drop anxiety cat 2. You can hear me, Vincent? Come to your command window and drop, and just type drop anxiety cat 2.
Come again, Daniel.
I'm saying go to your command window on Stata.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then
command
type drop.
drop.
Drop, yes, drop anxiety cut 2. Drop. Correct. Now go back and run that file again and run those 4 lines.
Okay.
Now run 16 to 19.
Invalid syntax.
Okay. So on line 17, we usually use a double equal sign. So not there, there, double equal sign. And also here, double equal sign. Vincent, can you hear me? Vincent, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. I think maybe I was buffering. So just put double equal sign after the command E. So answered, double there. And then the second line also the on line 18 also. Yeah, just replicate that. Okay. Okay. So run from line 17 to line 19. 17 from 17. Just run from line 17. Okay, that's fine. Okay, go back to your do file. Okay, now please just run from line 8. Run from line 8 to the last line there. Yes. Okay. So that's what you have. So now your duty is to label. You see, anxiety cut 2 has 1 and 2, and someone cannot know what 1 is and what 2 is. Now you use line 14 to tell us what you want label 1 to mean and label 2 to mean for this other variable called anxiety cut 2. Can you do that?
So I just write lab define.
Yes.
Anxiety cut 2. Cut 2 and so 1 to mean yes. That was yes or no?
1 is no.
So 1 is no. And 2 is yes.
Yes. Now wait, and then once you have done that, you comma modify. Put comma modify.
Yeah.
And now, once you have defined a label, you want to label the variable. So you see for line, let's do this one first. Once you have defined anxiety as 1 or 2, then you want to go to line 22. Press enter and go to line 22, and then lab variable, values, I mean. Lab val, anxiety cut 2, anxiety cut 2. So again, just type anxiety cut 2. So what that means is you want to label the values of anxiety cut 2, what you have defined in 21. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. So lab val anxiety cut 2, anxiety cut 2. So you need to add another anxiety cut 2 here.
So the same way with that hyphen chini.
Yes. Correct. Now run 21 and 22.
Okay.
Okay, now run 19. Run line 19. Okay, so you see what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now go to your command window and type FRE anxiety cat 2. FRE, the one I've been speaking about.
Oh, FRE.
Yes. Just go to your command window. Just write on the command window we see.
Oh, free anxiety cartouche.
Yes. But
Yeah.
so you see now, you know, in this category, 1 was labeled as a no, 2 was labeled as a yes. So that is what you do.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. So we know that in this population, the prevalence of anxiety is 12%. Okay. Do we have any questions from anyone before I reshare my screen? Let me check the chat if you have any questions. Okay. I see Mulisa has attended to them. But if you have any question, you can just unmute and speak before I proceed. Okay. So thank you so much, Vincent, for helping us with for sharing with us. Now we are dichotomizing the anxiety categories. The other way, the other thing you can do is, because you just have two categories, you want to, in my case, what I will do is just I'll generate anxiety. Let me just type, and I'll generate anxiety. So I've already used category, so I can just use I can just use anxiety category. I'll just say it's 0. So that means that whatever I need to do is just, I want to replace. You can use missing, you can use 0. You want to see that the result is the same. So I want to replace this category. I want to replace this category is 1 if the categories is 3 or 2 or 3. So by default, let me say this is 2 or this is 3. So you can just write on your end and see what happens. So by default, what Stata will do is it will only replace the category is 1 if 2 or 3, and then the rest will be assigned a value 0. And then so it depends with how I label. I want to define anxiety. So 0 in my case will mean no, and then 1 in my case will mean yes, and then I'll say modify. Okay. And then you can once you define the label, you label the variable. I want to the values for anxiety category as anxiety. Now I want to tabulate my category, which is anxiety category, and see if I'm getting the same information as Vincent. Okay, so this is what I have. If I run that, this is what I have. So in my case, I'm getting 14%. What is the difference? What did you get, Vincent? Was it 12%?
Yes, it was 12%. For yes,
Okay.
8 for no.
What did the rest get? Mine, I'm getting 14%. Let me see, 2 or 3. Yeah. Can a few people confirm what they have? So you can use either way. So if you have confirmed that you have the scores correct, then you can use either what we have presented there with Vincent, or you can just, I'll share this to file and then you can just use this. Now, without taking much time on this, that is how we use the tools and in actual data. So what that will tell you is in my population, 14% of the respondents have shown some signs of or are showing symptoms of anxiety or have anxiety. So that is the interpretation, and this will be reported as the prevalence of anxiety in this population. Okay, so now what else do you want to do? Questions, the ones that starts with BD1 here, let me just expand this. BD1 to BD21, they measure depression. Those questions, BD1 to BD21, those ones measure depression. Now, if I go back to what I shared here that I presented, how will we know how many people have depression in this population? So this is the interpretation. So the Beck's depression inventory is a 21 item that is self-reported, and the highest possible is 63 and the lowest is a 0. And the scoring is like this. So anyone that scores below 16 or up to 16, we categorize them as without depression. 17 to 27 have mild depression. 28 to 34 have moderate depression, and 35 to 63 have severe depression. So with using the information that we have used to generate the anxiety categories, you can use those variables, as I've said, it's BD1 to BD21 to generate the categories for depression. And once you have generated the categories for depression, you can dichotomize that variable and classify them as no and yes. So because we have done the first one, I'll just run through the second one very fast. So the first thing I do is EGEN depression score, and I say a raw total of all these variables. This one we have done with anxiety, so you just replicate. And then I label that score. And then I generate the categories as I've guided with the standard tool. And then I define my categories. What do my categories mean? And then I just ignore these two, but I tabulate my depression score and see what then is my depression. So if I run that, this is what I have. Normal is 60%, mild depression is 24%, moderate depression is 12%, and severe depression is 4%. So you can choose to report your data as the 4 categories, or you can recategorize them as suits your needs. So maybe you just want 2 categories, the normal and mild, you can just classify as no depression, and the moderate and severe as people who are having depression. So it really depends with what you want to report on. So now, what I'm repeating is generating the depression score and the depression categories is akin to that of anxiety. So there's nothing really special with generating the score here and the categories. Okay. So, okay. So then this command is not there. All right. So that is another step. What you see as order, I've said the command that I've just commented out, I'm saying order depression score and depression category after BD21 is how do I want these new variables? Because once you create a variable, it goes to the bottom of the list. It really goes to the bottom. So sometimes you want to bring it up on the, so like, for example, we have generated anxieties. You see where they're at the bottom. So sometimes I want to bring these scores up, or just after all the questions for anxiety, I want to give an anxiety score. So I just order, you just type order. I want to order this variable. And then after or before, you can say after, I want to order it after this variable. So you say order anxiety score after variable 23. So this is what you do. So A stands for after, B will stand for before. So order anxiety score after QOL23. So it will bring anxiety score after this variable. If you want before, you can just type here B, before, and then you press, and then you see before this question, anxiety score has been inserted here. So that is what is in my do file, so that we don't get lost with that. Okay, so the other variable that was to be generated here is the quality of life. I said we have three variables: anxiety, depression, and quality of life. And we're going to see if there is any association between them. Now, going back to what I was showing us as quality of life. So the quality of life has 26 items. And if you go online and get a direction on how to generate it, the score is like the instructions are just clear. So this is the scoring and interpretation. Reverse the items, revise some items, and then calculate the scores, and then compute the score between 0 to 100. And then a higher score means someone has better quality of life, while a lower score means someone has lower quality of life. Okay, so I'll give us that information to read, but then what we are really interested in is how do we transfer that information to our data set. So I've written a summary code here for what needs to be done and the comments. So step one, as I mentioned, for good data practice, you want to comment out whatever you are doing. As I'm doing here, I want to say this, now I'm dealing with quality of life. There's someone that needs to mute. I'm dealing with quality of life. And now step one, I want to record the first three, these items 3, 4, and 26 as this. So someone can ask me, why am I recording? And what does this formula stand for? It means that, let's go, for example, in one of them, one of these questions is QOL3. So QOL3, how is it structured? QOL3 reads, to what extent that do you feel that physical pain prevents you from doing what is the exact? Let me try to see if I have the full. Yeah. So what this means is already you can see prevent. Prevent is a negative approach. So prevent, it means it's a negative connotation, or like you're saying the statement in a negative manner. So for such variables, you need to record them so that they look as the other ones. So that's what I mean by negatively phrased items. So like the third one was negatively phrased. So I want to record all of them. So if someone scored a 1, I want to give them back a 5. 2 will be a 4, 3 will be a 3, and 4 will be a 2, 5 will be a 1. So these guidelines are in the instructions that I have read out in the PDF that I was showing us. And then the computation here are in that document that I'm showing us. So generate. So if I'm being told that the first domain is a domain for physical health, which you want to ask yourself, which variables are in the physical health? They're in that PDF that I'm showing us. So these 7 items, or 3, 4, 10, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are in the physical domain. These other 6 are in the psychological domain. These 3 are in the social domain, and these 8 are in the environmental domain. So I want to get a score for each of these domains, because quality of life, if you're speaking about mental health, quality of life really is around several things. And the main domains that we consider are physical, psychological, social, and environmental domain. So I'll share with us this. This is very easy to follow. So if I run that command, it tells me something has already been defined because I've already run that command. And then 100 score, the score should be 0 to 100. So I'll just show us how to this information. So this is already done. Okay. Now, so for the depression and the quality of life, I'll give us information on how to generate the scores. But the information is in the PDF. I'll just share with that after the meeting. Now, for sometimes you want to get some information, descriptive information from your data set. You want to stratify your results maybe by gender. But then you don't want to come to your data set and tabulate. So for example, education level and gender. And then once you get this, you want to take this to Excel and then do again for another variable. Maybe you want to tabulate so let's say highest level of education or this variable numbness and gender. So maybe you don't want to do that. So what you do for all the variables, what is this? So for all the variables, I have put a command here. You just say tab out. Tab out is a command that will direct the results to an Excel automatically. So tab out, I've listed some variables here: religion, education level. So I think religion is not there, education level. So some of these variables are not there. So let's say, so this means sex here, the information that I will get in this table named table 27 will be stratified by sex. So this is the command: tab out all these variables that I want to see their frequencies on by gender. Now using means what is this? What is the name of the XLS? If I go to my computer, what Excel should I be looking for? Where my output was recorded. So if you tab out this, I think I don't have some of this. Let me just do the two. Yeah. So let me say this is MHDP. You want to call it anything. MHDP.XLS. Now what C means, it is going to concatenate the frequencies and gives you percentages also. Now if you run this command, it tells you tab out unrecognized. So that means I need to install tab out, or I need help about tab out. This SSC. So whenever you find an error, you can just type help that error, or let me see if there is so just type SSC install. Install it tells me
Daniel,
yes.
Can you tell them, like, sometimes they may not get some of the command
Yes.
within the Stata. So they need to install, like using this SSC install tab out. I mean, there are so many commands that we use: SSS install tab out, or SSS install, or find.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, there's other possibilities like find it. Yes. There are so many commands in Stata that they may not get easily. They should use this SSC install or find it.
Thank you, Muluse. So if you don't find a command, you can just use SSC install that which you are missing. So I'll just copy this and paste it in the do file so that when you share the do file, you can see and then comment it. Where were we? Here. So here is, I want to installing a command. And then I'll just put that there as, so you can just do that for installing what you do not have. Now, let's run the command again and see if it's giving me the same error. So it tells me some variable is missing, BOH. Let me replace that with this variable here. So you can see, I want to replace that here, and then let me run this. Okay, so this is the table that has been generated. So where do you get this XLS? mhdp.xls, where has it been written? On day one, we remember Daniel telling us about a directory. So if you had set your directory is where all your output will be transported to. You are just going to your directory, and then you are going to see. You are going to find the. You're going to find the this table there. But if you have forgotten your directory, you can just search for mhdp.xls. So I'll just go and search mhdp. I can see it. Or I can just check. You can always check your directory. Let me check my directory. You can just check your working directory. Okay. So you type cd. If you type cd, it tells you like where is your current directory. If you type cd on the command window. So then you can find, you can change your directory if that is not what you want. So you come to file, and then you can see all this, and then there's change working directory. If I want to change that to, so I'll go to this PC, I'll go to this, I want to go to mental health enterprise. I say, okay. So now it tells me now my CD is this. So that if I run this command again, and I'll tell us what replace means. Now I will just go back to mhdp, my folder now, and I'll find that that output here. I should find that output here. And as you can see, it is here, down here. It has been recorded here. So if I double click on this, yes, you can see how my output is. Now the output has been stratified by gender. So these are the males and these are the females. So you can interpret your output as by gender or using the overall. I hope that is clear. Now, that is one aspect of exporting your data set. I'll just... Now, yesterday we talked about getting the means and the descriptives. So for example, I want to know, after generating the scores for each of the domains that I was talking about, the physical, physiological, the social, and then the environment, I want to know the mean of their scores over gender. So I just run this command, mean of these scores over gender. So you can see what happens here. It tells me for domain 1, males are scoring 84, females are scoring 76. And these are the other statistics. For domain 2, the same. For domain 3, the same. For domain 4 and domain 5. So once I share this, you can just have a look at how this one looks like. And then usually there's one more important thing to check, is whether your scales, the scale that you have used, is it reliable or is it not reliable? What do you mean by reliable? Reliable is if you have a scale of 7 items measuring a particular construct, or say like anxiety, you have 7 items measuring anxiety. You're asking yourself, do all the 7 items collectively measure anxiety, or there is an item among the 7 that does not actually measure anxiety? Now, I know that may not be clear, but what we usually use to check if a scale is reliable, and there's a cutoff for that, is usually called the Cronbach's alpha. The Cronbach's alpha is used to check if a scale is reliable or not. Usually there's a cutoff of 80% or 0.8. Other scales have their own cutoffs, and you can check that. Now, for example, I want to check if item 1 to 26 of the variables names QOL measure, we can rely on that, on those items to measure quality of life in general. So I will type alpha QOL1 to QOL26, comma item. And when I run that, you will see, this is what gives you. This is what you have. So what is important is this, the test of the scale. This is what is important, the alpha here, the alpha column. There's the item, there's a number of observations, there's a sign, there's item test correlation, and all the rest of these. But what we are mainly interested in is the alpha. What is the test of the scale? It's 91%. So it means we can rely on this scale to tell us someone's quality of life. So it was 0.98 for, so this is 91% for this sample data set. So if you want to check for the reliability of the anxiety scale, which was BAI 1 to 21, you just do the same. And then it tells you whether that scale can be relied on to measure anxiety in someone or to measure depression in someone. So what the command we usually use is alpha item for this case, and it tells you that it gives you a Chromebox alpha. Okay. I talked about t-test yesterday, and I can just repeat t-test. T-test is measuring, testing if means for two categorical variable differ or is the same. So if I want to check if the domain score, the score for the physical domain differ by gender, I just say t-test domain score by sex. And if you run that, this is something we did yesterday. It just tells you if the mean score for the physical experiences among the gender is different. And yeah, once you do that, you can, I've done the dichotomization here below. So once you receive the do file, you can just check. And in case you don't understand anything, you can just drop me a chat there. So yesterday we did logistic regression. Now we did logistic regression for depression. And we said you do a logistic regression if your outcome variable is a binary variable. Now, someone asks if there's any other method. You can do multivariate linear regression if your outcome variable is continuous variable. For example, now this, if I want to check factors associated with quality of life, so I want to regress. Regress stands for regression. And the output I will get is for the overall, the multivariate linear regression. So I want to check a regression score for the domain one was physical, as I mentioned earlier. I have my variable age is continuous variable. My variable gender is categorical. So how I put it in the model, I say I dot sex because it is categorical. And then I have I dot education level because this is also categorical. So when you run this, this is what you get. This is the output. And yesterday, Daniel showed us how to, how to interpret this. But this is a multivariate linear regression model. And just to interpret one, what does the coefficient stand for? You may want to, you may want to ask yourself, what does the coefficient stand for? And if you see a negative coefficient, it means there's a negative relationship between age and the physical score that they have. It means that for each additional age, there is we have the domain one score reduces by this 0.3 for each additional increase in age. Domain 1 score reduces by 0.3. I know that is not the conventional way of interpreting like things in the, you want to make sense of your data, and someone can ask, what is domain 1 score? So this is the score someone receives for their physical health. How is their physical health? It just means that the health for those who are aging, the physical, how they feel physically, that physical health reduces as someone age. It means younger people maybe have good physical health than old people, because age has a negative impact on the physical fitness of someone or how someone feels physically. So that's how you interpret something like this. Now, I leave that to check on this, the other regression models. What I'm really interested in doing now is to do some visualization. That will be the end of, that will mark the end of our presentation. But in case you have any questions, just drop in the chat, and Moluse is responding to some, and if there are some, I'll respond to. So everything is in this DUFA that we'll be sharing, and I've commented everything out. So perhaps you want to see, I have mentioned depression, I've mentioned anxiety, I have mentioned quality of life. So perhaps you are asking me, Daniel, how can I know how anxiety and depression are related? You may want to see that visually. So you may want maybe a graph that shows you a visual of how anxiety and depression are related, or anxiety and quality of life. That's because someone in your data set, you may find that maybe quality of life and anxiety are not related. Or do you want to see, does quality of life improve if someone has anxiety, or does quality of life becomes worse if someone has anxiety? So there's this command on line 133 that I will share with you. It tells me to fit quality of life and anxiety. So what I'm doing here is to check what is the relationship between quality of life and anxiety. Is it that those with higher anxiety or those that showing anxiety have low quality of life, or vice versa? So if I run this command, this is what I have. I don't know whether you can see. I would like someone to interpret for me this graph. Now I'll show you what the graph stands for. On my, this should be the x-axis. On my x-axis, I have anxiety. On my y-axis, I have quality of life. So can someone tell us what this, if you look at this graph, what can you see, or how can you interpret this graph to someone? Is there anyone who wants to go? Yes, Kitufe?
Yeah.
Yes, the higher the quality of life, the lower the severity of anxiety. This means that when somebody have the higher quality of life, then the anxiety will go down.
Good, very good. Thank you so much. Anyone else who want to say something about the graph? Thank you so much, Kitufe. Anyone else? Is there anything on the chat? Someone is saying,
there is a
yes.
question. There is a question which says, is it necessary to put the odd ratios option after logistic regression, logistic command? Yeah.
Okay, someone has responded. Thank you so much. So they are not the same. One logistic is for logistic regression, and the other one is for linear regression. Thank you so much. So they're not the same.
I mean,
Yes.
If you use logit command,
Yes.
you should, I mean, if you need the estimate using odd ratio, you should always put the OR at the end of your code.
Yes, correct.
But you can get the same estimate if you use logistics. If you use logistic like the whole word, you can get the same estimate as the word logits command and comma odd ratio.
Thank you, Molise. Thank you. And thank you everyone for participating in answering this, in interpreting this visual. So as anxiety increases, quality of life decreases, and that we expect that. But if we do not inspect the data, we cannot know that. We know that people who have anxiety, their quality of life is not that good. So this visual shows us that you can see as anxiety increases, then the quality of life is low. So you can see very low quality of life and high anxiety, and vice versa. So thank you so much for checking that. So perhaps we want to check depression and anxiety. How are they related? So I'll just copy this command, paste down here. And instead of quality of life, I think I should be having a depression score. I don't know that I generated that depression score. I want to check how does depression and anxiety relate? So I'll just run this. And now this is what you have. So can someone else try to interpret for us this? On my x-axis, I have anxiety. On my y-axis, I have depression. Can someone unmute and just tell us what does this graph mean and what does it stand for?
Okay, so to come in, as anxiety increases, depression also increases, meaning that there is a positive correlation between anxiety and depression. So the increase in anxiety increases depression, or vice versa. The increase in depression increases anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a positive slope, and the positive slope means as one variable increases, the other one also increases. So in this case, as Simon has rightly put it, as anxiety increases, depression also increases in a participant or among our population. So thank you so much for that. So this is an example of one of the visuals you can use to just check how your data looks like. Now, on to the last thing. I don't want to keep us today for very long. So on to the last thing that I wanted to share with us today is on, I shared it yesterday, but I just want to repeat on correlation. So if you want to check the correlation, we can use the graph, or we can just use this command, pwcore. Pwcore stands for pairwise correlation. PW is pairwise and core is correlation. So I want to correlate anxiety score and quality of life. So SIG stands for significance level. I want to check if it's significant at 5% level of significance. So now this is what it gives me, that the for this case, you want to interpret this coefficient, and the coefficient is negative. It means, from the way we have seen from the graph, as one variable increases, the other one, there's a negative relationship between quality of life and anxiety. There's a negative relationship or an inverse relationship. As anxiety increases, your quality of life becomes low or reduces. And it means this association or correlation is very significant. 0.000 is less than 5%, and this means it's very significant. Okay, so let's do one for depression and anxiety. And you can see that now the coefficient is positive. As we have discussed, positive correlation coefficients means a positive relationship between our two variables. It means that as one variable increases, the other one also increases. In this case, as anxiety increases in an individual, their levels of depression also increase. And this relationship is significant. I would wish to stop there. That is what I wanted to share with us today. In case there are any questions, I'm happy to take them at this point. I'm happy to take any questions. Do we have any questions? Any reactions?
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel and team, for taking us through the analysis bit. I can see how useful this will be, and actually you've tried to give us a very kind of structured way of doing the analysis. So maybe my question would be, is it okay somebody to be having like a sort of template do file, so that now it can be guiding you as part of your analysis strategy for whatever kind of analysis you'll be doing. So if we like have a template of a do file, so what you'll be changing is just the names of the variables you're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent, for your reactions. Thank you so much. For do file, it really depends on what. If you are working with, for example, if you are doing a longitudinal survey, so maybe you are doing a baseline and then you expect an end line survey. So it means that maybe the variables you have at your baseline survey will almost be the same at end line. So if you have your do file for your baseline survey, then when it comes to endline survey, it will be so easy to just rerun the do file, your commands in your do file, and then just change what variables have changed. But if you are doing different projects, then it means you are going to create a do file for each of the projects, because perhaps the variables are not the same. Do we have any other questions? Do we have any other questions from the team? One thing to keep in mind is anything that you want to get to be a master of, you have to practice daily or often. So if you want to get good using Stata, you want to be very persistent with using it or consistent with using it. For example, myself, sometimes I use Stata as a calculator. If I want to calculate something nowadays, I don't have the high school calculator, so I just open my Stata 2 as a calculator. So if you want to get good at using Stata, you want to be doing something every day or repeating something you did yesterday, just to familiarize yourself with these commands and how to use them. Once you get comfortable using it, everything will be okay. And the one thing to note that there's no one who knows all the commands in Stata. You can always use the help command. You can always use the help command